Mr. Jones and me. Yes, on the Mental Floss. Listen to Joe Flores here on Mental Floss, Maringo Radio. All right, WXMR 94.3. We're talking a little about history, reminiscing about the old days. And it was so funny, as the end of that song was going, I was thinking about the old roller rink days. You know, how you just go there and you would go there and you'd ask somebody out, or somebody would ask you out, and then all of a sudden you're dating for like 2 days, and then it's just a silly time. Remember being a kid? Oh man, my kids are getting there. I have a daughter starting junior high, so yes, she thinks she's in high school now. Yep, I'm in for it. I got 2 girls, so that's why I do all this exercising and lifting weights and stuff. And speaking of lifting weights, you know, back in the 1970s, when Arnold Schwarzenegger came up on the scene, you know, big and strong, he was the man, right? He was it. And then there were so many people around at that time too. So many other bodybuilders that had their specialties in lifting. And I was listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger talk. I was on YouTube, and he claimed that he wasn't a big food eater. He didn't like eating a lot of food. And then I tried looking for some photographs. And you know what? I couldn't find anything of him eating a lot of food, sitting there with piles and piles of food in front of him. I did find one picture of him. He just had like a little meal. He was eating a meal. He said he was never a big eater, but he started doing those protein shakes. He said he's one of those founders that brought in the protein shake because his body needed it. And I was like, wow. You know, okay. So and then that's how that developed. Everyone was doing protein shakes, and, you know, you want to follow the best, right? And he was the pioneer of basically bodybuilding. Although there was bodybuilders way before him, you know. There was, you know, you could see him in pictures, like, you know, in the 1950s. Do you remember, you know, like Charles Atlas? Remember that guy? Maybe not. You know, some of you guys, who the heck is Charles Atlas? But he was a bodybuilder. Probably, I might be wrong, 1940s, 1950s, maybe even earlier. And he was that guy in the middle of a magazine or a newspaper clipping. And he was standing there with his, like, cheetah Tarzan little bathing suit. Almost looks like underwear today, you know. Now I'm thinking about it. I don't own a pair of cheetah underwear. Or I'm going to get a pair. That's it. I'm getting a pair. Cheetah underwear, so I can do these pictures. No, but he was that guy, remember? And, you know, he had some muscles on him. Wasn't super developed as some of the bodybuilders today or, you know, in the 70s, but he was a strong man, you know, pure, right? You know, before all the hype of, you know, all these supplements and bad chemicals like steroids and stuff that were taken, right? He was just a regular man, and he did have muscles, but they weren't super defined, but you can tell he was big. And it was so cool. They'd have a little comic book about him on the side of his article. And then he was selling something at the bottom, maybe what he eats or how to do a back workout or chest workout. And you would mail in the clipping with some probably money. Back then, it's probably like 14 cents. But yeah, that was Charles Atlas. And, you know, these guys, they were well known because of their body, their physiques. And it's so cool to see the history of everything change. And I just love dabbing in the history. Where did this all come from? You know, everything, you know. Earlier we were talking about video games. You know, I think the big turnaround was the 80s. You know, I understand there's video games before that. There was like Pong and all that stuff. But who played Pong? I mean, we kind of laugh at it now. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we should have a Pong tournament. But the change was basically in the 80s for video games, you know, Miss Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, you know, you got to love Donkey Kong. But look at today. They're still around. Donkey Kong is still around. Mario Kart, you know, all this stuff is still here. And it's so cool. Like Star Wars. Look at Star Wars. I know that's not a video game, but they made it into a video game. But Star Wars is still strong, and that was late 70s, and then big in the early 80s, and then it disappeared for a while. Then it came back, and everyone still loves Star Wars. I mean, if there's another Star Wars movies coming out, a lot of people are going to go right away, except me, because I can't stand the popcorn chewing. So, yeah. So, we're, you know, now I'm like dabbling here in the bodybuilding, 1970s old school. I think that was so cool because that's when it really started hitting, There was more of a media about it. People were talking about it. There was like little magazines about, that was our mass media back then, magazines and newspaper clippings. But the old school 1970 bodybuilding, it's considered the golden age of bodybuilding. And it was popularized by, the film Pumping Iron. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's about all these bodybuilders that started this all up, Venice Beach, where it happened, where, still popular to this day. Because, Arnold Schwarzenegger walked on Venice Beach. So many bodybuilders have walked on Venice Beach and worked out. And, that was decades. Bodybuilding transformed from freak shows to a competitive sport now, The periods of champions are still fitness icons 40 years later. But there was more than a disco era weightlifting. There was charisma from like guys, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the marketing genius of Joe Weider. You guys, Joe Weider, he's still around. I mean, he still makes equipment, and it's like he's still there. There's supplement lines and stuff. And more importantly, trainers figured out, a protocol, it's like confirmed by science is that if you lift more iron, more weights, you're going to build more mass. And that's what happened in the 70s, man. If you lift heavier and heavier, you're going to get bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden, the big development of bodybuilding started. And I'm really taken in by all this because I just flipped my workout regime, and I like lifting weights. And then I was looking at this guy, Jay Cutler, not the quarterback of the Chicago Bears, but this bodybuilder, Jay Cutler, who's won some bodybuilding competitions, really big man, and he developed these things called fat grips. And what fat grips are is like this rubber foam, and it goes around like barbells, and it's supposed to help you put on more mass, more muscles. And I was like looking into it. I was like, whoa, I'm going to get this, so fat grips, I don't know much about them, but I'm doing a little study, research on them, and I'm probably going to get them and work out with them for a month and see what kind of development I get out of them. So that's, I experienced with myself, okay, we'll leave it at that. So in the 1970s, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Pumping Iron is one of those films that you can see. I know it's on Netflix. I watched it the other day. It could probably be boring for some people that are not into weightlifting. But if you want to know the history of weightlifting, by all means, watch that movie, It follows Arnold and follows a couple other bodybuilders of that genre of the 70s. I thought it was so cool. So, yeah. Little things like, I'm going to give you a little workout really quick, and then we'll just keep moving on with the history of life. And, I'm running out of time here. It's like 5 to 10 reps were the best growth, back then. And to this day, people say 6 to 12 reps, of something heavy. You want to put on some muscle. You want to do 5 to 10 reps, right, of something really heavy, and always have a spotter. You want to be safe. So, resistance needs to be added all the time, so you can, build up on muscle. So, like, if you're doing 5-pound curls one week, and the next week you're like, I still have 5-pound curls, eventually you're going to want to go up to the 10 pounds, and then the 15 pounds. And then before you know it, you're at the 30 pounds. And then you're doing so much more like I am. I'm just kidding. I can't. I can barely even lift 25 pounds. So resistance is huge in bodybuilding. Almost in every workout, you want resistant movement. A lot of people are like adding resistance and cardio, both the best of worlds. And you'll see it all over, on that, from workout videos to CrossFit, all over. Resistance and cardio is huge. Slow movement results in more testosterone production, so more build. Especially for you men, you want that build. You're gonna have to strain when you're lifting the weight. You got to punish the muscles. You got to tear those fibers so they can heal themselves and make you bigger again. So training large muscles is the prime mover. It stimulates the greatest hormonal response, for that testosterone. Rest between sets, should be 1 to 3 minutes. It depends on how heavy you're going because, you're getting that blood pump in there. You're going to want to rest up pretty good. I normally do a 1 minute rest if I'm going really heavy. There's times when I'm doing stack sets. There's progressive sets. There's super sets. There's giant sets. They're different. There's people that tell me all the time, it's like, oh, that all sounds just like a super set. No, it's not a super set. You have progressive sets, stack sets. The stack sets are like, you're doing a 5, 5, 5, 5. So you probably say you're benching and you take a 30-pound dumbbell and you're going to bench it 5 times. You're going to bring it down to your side of your chest and rest for 5 seconds and nail out another 5, and you'll do that up to 25 reps. The last 2 sets kill because you're not setting that weight down. So there's a difference. I mean, you're really tricking the muscle, and that's the big thing. You can't just do the same thing over and over. My friend Eric Christensen last week was talking about plateauing. And that's one of the things about plateauing. If you're just benching, let's say 135 pounds, you put 45-pound plates on a 45-pound barbell, and you're just benching that, and you're like, it doesn't hurt anymore. I can bench it 20 times. Well, now it's time to increase the weight if you want to put mass on, if you want to get stronger. If you just want to be ripped and have a little bumps on your chest as muscles, you're going to want to, stay there and do your 135 500 times. But if you want to get huge, you're going to want to up the resistance. See where I'm going with this? So rest up about 1 to 3. Remember, volume is important, and more equals better. So that's my little take on bodybuilding for you. A little old school. All developed the turnaround in the 1970s, although bodybuilding was before that. But that guy, Arnold Schwarzenegger, really, really turned it around for us. Yeah, we're talking about the Cubbies. They're supposed to win it, right? From Back to the Future, they said 2015. They're doing good. Little update on the Cubbies. That's cool. Let's go to a sponsor. I thought that was really weird how they did the knee one and the Integra one, and then I went to the radio and they did the same one. Edward Jones, Jim Duncan at the Marengo branch. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Jim Duncan, 568-7522. Or you can go to edwardsjones.com. Yeah. You're here listening to The Mental Floss with Joe Flores. Last week I had Eric Christensen on. Great radio man. He's been around for 10 years. And I was going to have him on today again, but he's out of town. And also the guy that I was supposed to have, a physical therapist today, talk about, our injuries and what we should do and nutrition and also a little bit about fitness. Had to cancel last minute. He's a very, very busy man, and unfortunately he had to cancel. So next week I have maybe a friend. I just was talking to her last night and a little bit this morning, and she has a great story, and we're trying to work something out for next Friday when I'm on, and I think it's going to be really cool. The ups and downs of her life, and I'm just thinking about it, and something she told me today just hit me, and I was like, wow, I didn't know that about her. So next week, hopefully she's on. If you go to Marengo Radio Mental Floss on Facebook, I'll post who it is and a little message on what we're going to talk about. It was cool because I went through the fire academy with her. We're on different fire departments, and maybe we can get a little intel of a female's perspective of being a firefighter as well. So I think that would be very, very cool. So a lot of cool stuff that she has, and we could talk a little bit. And she's also, it's fun. I have a good time every time I talk to her, so hopefully we can bring the funness out on the radio. So she's so cool. And what else? I want to do another sponsorship for you. I want to talk more about bodybuilding, but I'm not going to bore you guys. I'd rather bring on another guy that I know. I don't know if he works during the day. I got to get a hold of him, but he said he wanted to do the show, and he knows everything about supplements, bodybuilding. He's won competitions.